Hello everyone, Sigs here, and welcome to Magic the Gathering Arena. So the new ranked season just started earlier today, and while I don't usually play ranked in this game, for no particular reason other than I don't generally have the time to commit to matches that require a little bit more focus than casual matches, I did, with about 14 days left in the previous season, decide, why don't we do some matches and try to get some rewards? And playing about an hour or two here or there, once or twice a week, I was able to get all the way up to Platinum. And that got me thinking, with basically a full month, a full season left, if I start now, maybe we can get all the way up to Mythic. So that's kind of the goal. We are starting at Silver 1. That's where we got demoted to after Platinum. And, I don't claim to be the best Magic the Gathering player ever or anything like that. But I have been playing the game for quite a long time. And I do know the ins and outs of the game. And I'm pretty familiar with most of the decks in the current meta. So I figured we should just give it a shot and see how far we get. I do have scheduled uploads on this channel through basically the end of the year, actually. But I figured, if we do some matches here and there and get a good recording out of it, then I may just sporadically upload them in addition to the other daily upload. And if people want to watch along and see how far we can get, see if we can actually get up to Mythic, then you are welcome to do so. So let's take a look at the decks that we're going to potentially be running here. So I'm going to be doing Historic Ranked. That's just the game mode that I prefer, and I basically have 3 decks for Historic. So the first one would be this mono green elf deck, which if you can turn 1 Llanowar Elves and then turn 2 Elvish Archdruid, you have so much mana, you can just start dropping these elves and comboing them off and drawing more cards and play your whole hand and then play your whole deck and then drop a Craterhoof Behemoth and swing in for lethal, and that's the end of the game. Unfortunately, while that is amazing, it doesn't end up happening like that most of the time. Any kind of early game removal, of which there is very prevalent in the current meta, any kind of counter spells, anything to slow down your tempo, and you just seem to fall behind and not be able to recover. That's my experience with this deck. It's kind of a shame. I love mono green elf tribal. That's honestly in paper Magic in real life generally what I go for, but it just doesn't quite seem to hold up in this current meta, so probably going to end up not running that one too much, but it is a possibility. One of the other decks that we have is this mono white angels deck. So this deck is quite similar to the elf deck in that it has a lot of low-cost creatures, a pretty low mana curve. They all synergize together really well. You play an angel, you gain some life. That gives you another angel or a token, and then that gives you more life, which gives you another angel, and everything synergizes together really well. It does suffer from the same downside as the elf deck does, where if you lose a lot of your early pieces, it can be really hard to recover. However, due to the life gain aspect of it, you can often last long enough, just kind of stall your opponent out by having more life, for you to gather enough pieces to actually make something happen and turn the tides in the match a little bit. So I do find it tends to do a little bit better than the elf deck, basically just for that reason. It's got some very powerful combos. If people don't deal with your threats early, you start to just gain so much life, and that just snowballs into more angels, into more powerful angels, into more life, and the combos can get really crazy really quickly. So this deck is pretty good, but I find that the deck that I win the most with, by far, is this Izzet Wizards deck. So this is the one that I used over the past couple weeks to get up to Platinum very quickly. And I know that those are low ranked matches. I started off having done no ranked at bronze rank 4 or 5, whatever the bottom rank of bronze is. Shows you how much ranked I do. I don't even know what the tiers are. But, from there to Platinum, those are all considered basically low ranks, but I think I ended up going, whatever it was, like 20-3 or something, 20 wins and 3 losses. So this deck, very consistent. Certainly, at least in those low ranks. I don't know how it'll hold up in the higher ranks against some maybe better decks, but we did go up against quite a variety of decks, and as long as it was played right and we didn't get completely, screwed by getting no mana or flooded by getting all mana or something like that, it seemed to work pretty well. So the way that it works, you have Gigantha just because you can. There's really no downside to having Gigantha, so you run Gigantha. The only downside is maybe it'll tip your hand and let your opponent know what you're playing before the first couple turns when they would know anyway, but it's basically a free card, so it's like, why not just have it in there? And then the main card in the deck is basically this Dreadhorde Arcanist. So whenever the Arcanist attacks, you can cast an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard with mana value less than or equal to Arcanist's power. And then you have Balmor and Symmetry Sage, both of which can buff the Arcanist when you cast spells. So you cast spells, they go to your graveyard, Arcanist gets buffed, you attack with the Arcanist, and then you can recast the card from your graveyard. So a lot of value. You can get a lot of multiple casts of spells off in a turn. Also, when you then cast it back from your graveyard, you can get additional triggers with Balmor or with Symmetry Sage, and it becomes a very aggro-heavy deck with just those creatures, while also being a pretty decent control deck in the respect that it has a lot of burn spells. So I'm still kind of experimenting as far as these go. Like, Play with Fire versus Reckless Rage versus Strangle, they're all better than the other situationally. Strangle, 3 damage instead of 2 at 1 mana, but Play with Fire can hit any target. You also get the option to scry. Strangle, more damage, but can only target creature or planeswalker. Reckless Rage, 4 damage for 1, that's great, but you do also need to target a creature you control and take 2 damage to that creature. Thankfully, all the creatures in this deck have 3 toughness, so they can live, but if you don't have a creature out, you can't even use this card, so that's the downside of the extra damage or 2 for 1 mana. So I am still kind of experimenting with which one of these I like the best. That's why there's not like a 4 set of any of them. That's why there's just kind of some variety there. But the rest of the cards in the deck, Wizard's Lightning, Balmor, Symmetry Sage, and the Arcanist are all wizards. So Wizard's Lightning, as long as you have a creature on the field, it's 1 mana for 3 damage to any target. That's the best spell, as long as you have a wizard on the field. So 4 of those. We also run Flame of Anor, which gives you some versatility in your removal, being able to choose up to 5 damage to a creature or an artifact, which does come in handy against certain decks. Or you can draw 2 cards. Again, as long as you have a wizard on the field, which all the creatures in this deck are wizards, which is nice. And then Mentor's Guidance as well. If you have a wizard on the field, you can scry 1 and then draw a card twice. So that's awesome because it gives you 2 triggers for Balmor or Symmetry Sage. And it's quite good for hand fixing. So you run that, you run Consider and Expressive Iteration just for hand fixing and filtering through your deck to find what you need. And then obviously the absolute best burn spell is Static Discharge. Starts off 3 damage for 2 mana, so not as good as the others, but you can recast it from your graveyard and get another stack on it with Dreadhorde Arcanist. So essentially you're running 8 copies in your deck, and you can very quickly build its intensity up to 5, 6, around that range, and deal that much damage for 2 mana, which is really, really good. So that's kind of how this deck works. This is the one I'm going to be running the most of, I think. If I run into trouble for some reason, then, I have the other Elf and the Lifegain deck available. But, the only thing I could really do to improve this deck would be to spend more rare wildcards on some better lands. But I didn't want to do that. I don't have a ton of wildcards. I like being able to build other decks that require rares and not just dumping them all into wildcards. So we do have some good kind of split lands here, shock lands, all that kind of stuff. But we do also have quite a few just basic lands, so we can get into a little bit of trouble with that as far as not always having the correct colors. But overall, plays pretty well, and having lands that come in untapped all the time too also helps to up the tempo as long as we draw into the right colors. So that is the deck, and I say let's jump into some matches now. Alright, so bit of a hiccup there to start. I got into a match, and then I tabbed over, and I must have stopped the recording somehow, and I didn't realize for a few turns, so I didn't want to just pick up the recording in the middle of a match, so I did just concede real quick. I don't usually do that. I don't like conceding. I would prefer to just play the match out, even if it looks like I'm going to lose, but it just didn't make sense to like pick up randomly in the middle of a match with a really poor jump cut. So I decided to just start over here, start fresh, stitch this together, and see how it goes. So we're going to hit play. We are going to find match. It's going to be ranked and historic with the Izzet Wizards deck. And then we're going to hit play and see how this goes here. So looking for our first opponent. Not sure what kind of decks we're going to run into. I'm sure there's like better players down in these lower tiers, seeing as it's like the first day. They haven't had a chance to climb up yet. Going up against Step with the Ugin avatar. He goes first. Okay, interesting. I do tend to look at opponents' avatar and sleeves to try to figure out what they're playing. He's running a Gigantha, so this may end up being a mirror match, and if he's on the play, then that's much better for this deck, actually. This hand is not the best, but it is keepable, so we'll keep this hand. We'll let him go. The Ugin avatar and the lack of sleeves is telling me nothing. The Gigantha is telling me a lot, though. Alright, so he mulliganed. Oh, he's in rat. Whoa. Interesting. So this is like the infinite loop deck, right? You put a counter on the Squirrel, and then when you put a counter on it, you do something, and then, okay, so right off the bat, I need to get rid of that Squirrel. That's one of his combo pieces as far as I know, so we'll just go ahead and quickly play with fire. And then next turn, I can drop the Arcanist, and as long as he doesn't have removal and it sticks around, I can recast it. Whenever one of my artifacts you control leave the battlefield, create a token. Or you can sacrifice an artifact to deal a damage, but you have to tap it. Okay. So, here's the thing. I want the Arcanist out to recast stuff from the graveyard, but I'm not sure if he's going to stick, because he's in red and black. He's probably got removal. So I'm going to, like, bait with the Symmetry Sage to see if I could bait a removal spell, because next turn I could just drop Arcanist and then immediately Reckless Charge and just go in for a big hit. And what I'll do as well is I'm just going to Wizard's Lightning him to the face. That is a good removal spell for me to have, but I'll be able to recast it next turn with the Arcanist Reckless Charge combo. So, okay, no removal. Gets an artifact. A little bit of card advantage, being able to play the exiled card. Okay, there's the Squirrel, there's the Oven, which is part of the loop as far as I know. Okay, whenever you sacrifice artifact creature, I don't know exactly what his combo is, but that gives it a counter, and I know you can sacrifice things to the Oven. Oh, he didn't play the Oven. That was the exiled card. Sacrifice creature, create a food token, and the Familiar, and then you can do the infinite loop with the Familiar and the Oven if you can untap it, and then, okay, I mean, I see what he's doing here. I don't remember the, like, exact combo, but I definitely want to be getting rid of his combo pieces, so we're going to go, like, a little aggro heavy here. I'm going to do this, and then Magecraft the Symmetry Sage. So we'll go in for a big attack. Now, what I can do is either play with fire the Squirrel, which is probably the play, or I can lightning him to the face for even more damage, and that will give me an extra Symmetry Sage proc, or I could even Reckless Charge the Symmetry Sage. But I like keeping the Reckless Charge available to be flashbacked, so we're just going to play with fire on the Squirrel. He's all tapped out, so I don't think he's going to get anything to save it. And then I can do the Magecraft onto the Arcanist, go in for big damage. And then we see what he does. He shocklands and goes to 5, attacks for 1, drops a third Squirrel, which I don't think he's going to be able to do anything with. Okay, sacrifices that to do 4. That puts a counter on the Squirrel, which generates a construct. Don't think it's enough to save him. As far as I know, especially with him being tapped out. So he could tap that to gain 1 life and put him up to 6, but this is going to do 6. Doesn't have the mana to gain any more life, and that doesn't do anything, so as far as I can tell, this is enough to end the game under any current circumstance. If not, I can also always just strangle that Squirrel, but that is enough. So, okay, I think those Squirrels were going to get out of hand pretty quickly with this kind of deck that he had here. So, yeah, a lot of sacrificing of things, doing extra damage by sacrificing things, sacrificing this with 3 mana, sacrificing this if you needed to, making an artifact leave the battlefield by sacrificing it to get another artifact to sacrifice it, all the while ramping up the Squirrels. And then I know he had the Witch's Oven, Cauldron Familiar kind of combo going on here too. So yeah, those Squirrels would have gotten out of hand pretty quickly, but thankfully I had enough removal to just get rid of all of them, which I'm sure was super annoying for him to draw into 3 of his 4 Squirrels and then just have them get destroyed. So thankfully that works out. We had what we needed to deal with it. So that's the first match, and that's the first win. So let's go ahead and jump into another one. So no guarantees that we get any more wins here even, but you know, again, being the start of the season, down in these lower ranks, I think there's still probably some pretty good players who just haven't climbed out of them yet. So definitely got to be on my toes and expecting some good matchups here and probably some losses along the way, but we'll see. I'm going up against Cowboy Killer. Again, no sleeves and an avatar that doesn't really tell me much, so I'm going first. This hand is not playable. This is a shame. I'd have to bank on drawing into a red mana on turn 2, which is just too unlikely, so I will need to mulligan. Jeez, this hand is barely any more playable. I'll keep 6. I'm going to get rid of a land. I'll turn 1 Steam Vents into Consider to hopefully fish for something that I can actually play. And then turn 2, we can at least get Balmor out, and we have some light removal to maybe slow him down until we can draw into better cards. So that's going to be the play. We're going to pay the 2 life. We're going to Consider. I have no reason not to do that on his turn, because I may want to play with fire or something instead. Yeah, Speaker of the Heavens. So this could very easily be that mono white Lifegain deck that I showcased at the beginning. This creature cannot attack this turn, doesn't have haste, and he can't do the tap effect, both because he doesn't have the life and also because it has summoning sickness. So I will just Consider. Ooh, Expressive Iteration. That's going to be really good for hand fixing, but it's going to be a while before I can play it. I mean, I'll have the mana to play it next turn. It's just a waste if I already have played a mana that turn, because if I do this and I get 2 manas, 2 land cards, I always want to exile 1 and play it. Otherwise, I'm throwing away 2 cards instead of 1, and then it becomes not very good. So we're going to have to drop Sokenzan. And then I think we just get Balmor on the field. Now, this white deck could be running quite a bit of removal in the form of, like, Portable Holes and other white exile spells. We're hoping that he doesn't. Okay, perfect. We were hoping he drops something a little stronger than Speaker, which would allow me to just go ahead and Wizards Lightning it, because Balmor was going to stick around, so it only costs 1 mana for 3 damage. Play with fire would have arguably been a better decision, so I didn't, like, overkill it by 1 damage. But I wanted to cast that while I actually had a wizard on the field before it just became unplayable in my hand if I wasn't able to draw into another land. So that's good. Now the question is, do we Reckless Charge and just go big damage early on? Or do we try to do some hand fixing? Or do we clear his board entirely? I think I wait. I'm not scared of this thing for now. I think I just Consider. Yeah, I need to find another land. That's not a land, but it could potentially allow me to draw into one. And there's no guarantee I get one on the Surveil anyway. plus it's 2 triggers for Balmor. So we're just going to do that. We're going to attack. We're hoping next turn that we draw into... Oh boy, Heliod. We're hoping we draw into a land, and then we can get rid of the speaker. Okay, perfect. And then Mentor's Guidance. So we're going to have to take 2 to do it, but that's fine. This Heliod, this life gain with the +1/+1 counters is going to get out of control pretty quickly, and if I allow his devotion to get to 5 and for this to turn into a creature, then it can get real bad. So we absolutely need to get rid of the speaker while we can before it gets any bigger. That gives us 1 Balmor trigger. And then I'm going to Mentor's Guidance. We definitely need to fix our hand here. So that doesn't help me right now. That is a land. That is good. And I will take that, actually. I do want to have a burn spell available for whatever he plays next. That brings Balmor up to 3, allows me to attack in. So, still missing the Arcanist, still missing the Symmetry Sage. Boy, do I wish I had kept that Reckless Rage now, because that thing is 4 toughness. So I think right off the rip, we'll do Expressive Iteration. Okay. So, Arcanist is going into my hand. Symmetry Sage is going into exile. He's going to start popping off. Oh, shoot. I clicked the wrong... I did it in the wrong order. Oh, well. I was going to say, I think he's going to start popping off, so if I can just get Arcanist and the Symmetry Sage on the field, then I should be able to just out-aggro any of his life gain. Unfortunately, I screwed it up, but we do get an extra land drop. Now we're totally fine on lands. We can begin to just ignore any lands that we get going forward. I'm going to drop Arcanist. We're going to hope to be able to recast some of our spells. I'm going to attack with Balmor. Now he's going to gain a 4 life for every angel he plays. Yeah, so there he goes. It's also going to trigger Heliod on this thing. I can't let his life get to 27 or he's going to get +2/+2 on everything. Of course, we draw into another land, which really does not help us. What we can do, though, what I will do, I'm actually going to do... Okay, so... Going to have to Static Discharge first, because it's a sorcery. I'm going to hit the... I'm going to hit the Valkyrie with it. And then I am going to Reckless Charge onto... They both have Trample, right? Yes. Onto Balmor. Yes. Okay, that allows me to attack like this, and then the Arcanist can recast any of this stuff, but can recast the Static Discharge. I think I'm actually going to wait. I'm going to save the Static Discharge because it does 4, so that next turn I can take out the Bishop. I'm just going to do... where's that Play with Fire? Because it's just enough. So I'll save the spells that do more damage for later. Assuming he doesn't have anything that's going to give this thing more toughness, then Play with Fire is going to be enough. That gives me another trigger on Balmor. He does get the 1/1 blocker, but I have Trample. Oof, he just takes to the face. Okay. So, I'm still not free yet. So that gains him 4 life. He's going to put a +1/+1 counter somewhere. That does give him Devotion to get Heliod up. He does have 2 mana open, which means he's going to give lifelink to something. I mean, he should. And attack, which is going to give him enough to get the get the Resplendent Angel trigger at the end of the turn to get another Angel, which is going to give him another 4 life. So, problematic. Yeah, that thing's getting big. Gets the Angel, he gets the life. Life gives him the token, or the counter. Now I'm in trouble, just like that. So we're going to play... Well, we're not going to play the island. We're going to Expressive Iteration first. See what we can get. Flame of Anor, beautiful. That goes to hand. And then... I think I want to play Mentor's Guidance for the 2 triggers. So I can actually double cast Flame of Anor this turn. So that'll get rid of the Angel, and the Heliod's indestructible, so I can't get rid of him. It's going to have to be the Bishop of Wings. But I can get rid of both of them. I won't be able to Mentor's Guidance after that, though, but... So I actually should have taken the Play with Fire. At least I would have been able to cast it. But we're just going to have to go for it. So we'll do Flame of Annul. We will draw 2 cards and deal 5 damage. Gonna draw 2 cards and deal 5 damage. Has to be to the Angel. Probably should have done the Bishop of Wings first, huh? So that he didn't get the extra token. I wasn't thinking that through. Play the Shivan Reef. Doesn't help us, but go ahead and attack. Now, they're both going to go to 4/3s. So I can take out that Angel if he chooses to block with it. I think what I do is just do Flame of Annul again, because I want the 2 cards. Even though it's a little bit overkill. It's my only 5 damage spell at the moment. But I want the cards, so we'll do that. Draw 2, and then we need to get rid of this Bishop. We go up to 4/3s. Ooh, double Static Discharge. I can clear his board next turn. So it's up to him if he wants to block. He does. He takes out the Arcanist. I can just drop Arcanist and Reckless Charge and then recast any one of my burn spells from my graveyard next turn, though, so... Alright, that works out. He only has 2 cards in hand now. Frick, of course. You and that player gain that much life. Interesting. Wow. Okay, so I can't let him get to 35 life. We'll drop the Storm card, Carved Coast. Now, you know what I could do? Let me math this out. So I drop this Arcanist, and then I have 3 left over to Reckless Charge, and then I Static Discharge twice and get rid of the Angel of Destiny. So I should math all this out before I just go for it, but I'm just going to go for it. So I drop the Arcanist. I Reckless Charge it. I Static Discharge once. I attack. He's going to have no blockers. So then I can Static Discharge again for 5. Question is, these both have Trample. If I just did it to his face for 9, he would take... No, it wouldn't be enough. So we get rid of the Angel. We get the extra Balmor trigger. We get him down to 3. So getting closer here. Okay, he plays a Soul Warden. That's not going to save him. Okay, that's a smart move. He's going to do double lifelink. Still not enough to save him, I don't think. He's going to buff up his Soul Warden to be a blocker, which doesn't help him. I'm just going to end this man's whole career right here. So Soul Warden's going to die. Balmor goes to 1. Static Discharge. I want to toy with him. I shouldn't. I should just end it. I don't know where that came from, where I decided to just be cruel, because I totally could, but let's go for the sure thing. We'll just Static Discharge him in the face, and that's good. I was thinking I wanted to Static Discharge one of the 2 flyers, and then attack, because I would have gotten an additional +1/+0, and I would have been able to cast a 4. I could have destroyed the other one with Flame of Annul, drawn 2 cards, played something else that I drew, and then attacked, and then like recast Static Discharge for 7 to his face, and you know, that would have just been cruel. There was no need to do that. I just got excited for a second there. I apologize. I don't know why that came out of me. It's late, and I got a little overexcited. But yeah, that's a win. So that actually got a little scary there. I had a feeling I was gonna maybe lose that one. Once the Lifegain creatures started like comboing together, that just gets really out of hand. If I'm able to draw into enough burn spells and have my Arcanist stick on the field so that I can recast them, then I'm pretty easily able to deal with it. But if I didn't draw into those burn spells, and if you remove my Arcanist like at all, I guess you removed the one of them, right? But if you remove both of them, or if I didn't draw into the second one, then I probably would have lost there. So I kind of got lucky with what I drew. I drew just what I needed, and I think I played it all right, so that worked out. That is, we're 2 for 2 at the moment, and now that I said that, we are going to get absolutely destroyed in this 3rd match, because that's the way it goes. So let's get into the next match here. Take a sip of water so you don't have to hear my horribly dry mouth any longer. Instead, you can hear my horribly... I'm not going to finish that thought. All right, here we go. Einstein guy, the Flibith, whatever that's called, with, what is that, Demir sigil? Not Demir, the other one, Golgari, green-black. So maybe he's playing green-black, maybe he's not. We're going first. This hand's keepable. It's not the best. You know, turn 1 Symmetry Sage, turn 2 Balmor, turn 3 Arcanist Reckless Charge. That's like the best, but we can, as we shift our position in our chair here, we can at least turn 1 consider to start looking for some of the pieces we need. That is not one of them. It stinks putting that in the graveyard. I like to surveil instants or sorceries into the graveyard so that I can get them back out with Arcanist, but all right, we get a Mentor's Guidance. All right, Delighted Halfling, so he's already ramping. Now the question is, do I put the Arcanist out and hope that it sticks? Or do I just immediately end his ramp? I think I'd rather get the Arcanist on the field. I have 2 of them, so if he like baits a removal, auto pay and take the 1, then I have another one I can play, and then what I can do is just destroy whatever he ramps out instead of destroying the ramper. I think that is maybe a better play. Okay, Prosperous Innkeeper, he's going for that token, food token, treasure token deck maybe. Okay, so here we have choices. Now, if I attack with the Arcanist, he's only going to be able to recast Consider, which is fine. I can look for a land, because I need one. I'd rather not miss a land drop this turn. I could Express Veneration to find a land, and then play it, and then potentially play with Fire. Or I just Static Discharge for removal, so... It's just 1 life. Okay, I know, I'm going. So I am going to Express Veneration, actually. It's one of the best hand-fixing spells. I am going to have to take 1 to do it. 1 life to do it. Okay. Good. So, okay. Symmetry Sage goes into my hand. I already have 2 Mentor's Guidances, so that's excessive. Now I need to be careful here. Mentor's Guidance goes away, and then Sulphur Falls goes to exile, which, because I didn't play a land this turn, I can now play it, which means I can, because it comes into play untapped, because I control an island, I can play with Fire on Delighted Halfling, stop his ramp unless he has some kind of protection spell. Okay, he floats the mana, which, I mean, why not float the mana, right? And then I'll attack, so now I can either consider or play with Fire. I think I'm going to just get rid of this Innkeeper. I don't want him doing any kind of shenanigans with, like, bouncing creatures and gaining life, so I think that's the play there. The next turn I can drop Symmetry Sage, Mentor's Guidance for double Magecraft proc. Not that it matters, because Symmetry Sage won't be able to attack anyway, but then I can attack with Dreadhorde Arcanist and replay Express Veneration. Okay, Protection from Humans, pay 1 life, sack another creature, put a -1/-1 counter, and draw a card. Discard a card to proliferate. 2/4. So I think the play is to just get rid of that. So I Symmetry Sage. It's going to be overkill, though, to get rid of it. He's only got 3 cards in hand, because I could Static Discharge him directly, and then attack, and then recast it for 4, so that would be 7 damage. I'm not going to die to him. It's just, if he gets a counter on anything, and then just starts proliferating, he's going to remove it. I'd rather just get rid of it. I don't know that this is the best play, to be honest with you, but this is what I'm going for, so... Bring him down, we attack, it lets us recast it. Ah, oh my god, he just surrendered. Okay, so... It might have just been because he was annoyed at how slowly I was playing. I get the rank up straight to gold, so we're already up to gold, that's cool. Yeah, sometimes I feel like when I'm doing this and I'm talking and I'm explaining my moves, it obviously takes a lot longer than just thinking through them. So people are just sitting there like, dude, come on, like, take your turn, what are you waiting on, blah, blah, blah. And I do feel really bad, because I kind of hate when I go up against people that are, like, taking forever for no seemingly good reason. I'm okay when it's, like, late in the match and there's a lot to think about and there's a lot riding on it, but when it's, like, turn 3, it's like, dude, why are you taking so long to cast your spells? So maybe he just surrendered because of that, or he surrendered because he just knew I was going to kill his creature and he didn't really have anything else going for him. Yeah, those sleeves are kind of cool, huh? They do something when you mouse over them. I didn't realize that. But, yeah, so I think I was just going to hit him in the face with this Static Discharge, and then if he blocked, he would have lost Yawgmoth, and if not, then I could have been in trouble, but I would have been getting him low enough, taking him down to 12 life, and having Symmetry Sage, another Arcanist in hand, and lots of cards to draw into better burn spells. I think I would have been okay, so that was going to be the plan. But he surrenders, so we don't get to see the plan come to fruition. But we do jump into the next match here, so I think the plan, I didn't want to play too long tonight. Like I said, you know, I don't have like a ton of free time to do this, but when I get an hour or two here or there, I'll try to record a section, and if it comes out well, I'll upload it, and maybe we can get to Mythic over the course of the next month. So for tonight, it is already very late, way later than I should be up, to be honest with you. Probably why I'm so overtired and hyper and talking so much more than I should. But I think for tonight, what we're going to do is apparently accidentally turn our recording off again in the middle of our outro without realizing it until after we've rendered the video, and rely on future SIGs to come in and finish off the outro. So anyway, that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed the matches. Hope we get a chance to do more in the future. I've been SIGs, but for now I'm out of here. So hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you in the next one. Hope you have a good one. Peace.